Apparently, when you get locks, you get handed an invisible rulebook. Don't retwist them too often, but don't wait too long. Don't style your locks too much. Don't use too many products. Don't wash them too much. Don't do this. Never do that. And after almost 5 years of having locks, I have learned one thing. Everybody has an opinion, and some lock advice I completely agree with. Some advice I've actually incorporated into how I care for my own hair. And then there are some lock rules that I completely ignore because they either don't work for me, don't apply to my hair, or I simply don't agree that there is one way everybody with locks needs to maintain their hair. So today we're going through some of the most common lock advice I receive in my comments, DMs, and ones I see online. And I'm telling you whether I agree with it or completely ignore it. And before somebody comes for me in the comment, this is based on my experience with my locks. I'm not a loctician. I'm not telling you what to do with yours. Okay, let's get into it. This is probably one of the biggest ones I see. Anytime somebody talks about their retwist schedule, there will be somebody saying, that's too often. And then somebody else saying, you waited that long? For me personally, I get my locks retwisted around 6 to 8 weeks. And in between, I might just retwist and touch up the front of my locks, but for my whole head to be retwisted, it's about 6 to 8 weeks. But that's what's worked for my hair and my lifestyle. And I'm not going to change a routine that's working for me, because somebody online has decided there is one universal retwist schedule. Now, do I think you should constantly manipulate your roots just because you want them looking freshly retwisted 24/7? No. But I also don't believe everybody needs to wait 2 to 3 months because somebody else does. Different scalp, different locks, different lifestyles. And if you're genuinely unsure what frequency is healthy for your locks, that's a conversation I'd have with a professional who can actually look at your hair. Not somebody who's typing in the comments from across the world. Because if you've been on my channel for longer than 5 minutes, you already know I love styling my locks. One of my favorite things about having them is realizing how versatile they really are. I'll curl them, put them in buns, twist them back, try a style I've never done before. Sometimes I start styling with absolutely no plan and just see where we end up. And apparently, according to some people, I'm not supposed to be doing all of that. Now, obviously, there's a difference between enjoying styles and constantly putting your hair under unnecessary tension. If something is painfully tight, I'm not doing it. If I feel my locks need a break, I'll wear them down. I'm still paying attention to my hair. But this idea, because I have locks, I'm somehow supposed to limit what I do to them? No. If my locks allow me to be creative, I'm going to be creative. Now this I agree with, and this is something I think becomes more important the longer you have locks. Locks can hold on to things. So personally, I'm not trying to put 15 different products into my hair just because somebody made a 12-step routine on TikTok. I'm pretty intentional about what I use, especially when it comes to thick, heavy products. I don't need my locks coated in product to feel like I've taken care of them. And more product doesn't automatically mean healthier hair. For me, keeping them relatively simple has worked well. I use product. I'm just mindful about what I'm putting into my hair and how much I'm using. This is another one where I don't understand how we got to one schedule for millions of different scalps. Your scalp matters, your lifestyle also matters. Do you work out? Do you sweat a lot? Do you use products? What does your hair need? If my scalp needs to be washed, I'm washing my hair. I'm not sitting there thinking, well, somebody on TikTok said I'm not allowed to until Thursday. Keeping your scalp and your locks clean? Absolutely, I agree. Pretending there's one magical washing schedule that applies to everybody? No. And especially if you're dealing with an actual scalp concern, I'm definitely not the person who's going to diagnose that through a YouTube comment. Talk to somebody qualified who can help you figure out what's going on. We're getting into it now. I recently talked about this because somebody told me when locks aren't freshly retwisted, they make you and your hair look trashy. And I need us to release this idea that locks are only presentable when every part is crisp and every piece of new growth is tucked away. My locks are not freshly retwisted every day. Sometimes I have new growth, sometimes they're frizzy, sometimes my parts aren't giving you geometric perfection. And they're still cared for, they're still clean, they're still beautiful. Now I love a fresh retwist, but I also love my hair between retwists. I don't need my locks to look freshly done every day in order to feel good about them. Freshly retwisted is not the only acceptable way for locks to exist. This might actually be the advice I agree with the most. And I wish more people understood this before starting their locks. Because inspiration is one thing, comparison is another. You can bring a picture to a loctician and say, I like this size. I like this general look. This is what I'm hoping for. But you cannot order somebody else's head of locks. Your density might be different. Your strands might be different. Your texture might be different. Your parting might be different. Even your head itself is different. That's why I keep saying, knowing exactly the amount of locks somebody has is not the secret formula to getting their look. I always say, two people could have the exact same lock count and their locks look completely different. Use other people's locks as inspiration, but give your own hair room to become its own thing. Because after almost 5 years, if I've learned anything, it's that lock journeys can look completely different. Somebody retwists more frequently than you. Somebody waits longer. Somebody loves styles. Another person wears their locks down 90% of the time. Somebody else uses certain products. Another person started with 2-strand twists. Somebody started with coils. Somebody also started with extensions. And somehow, the world continues spinning. I think we've gotten so comfortable sharing what works for us that sometimes we forget those last 2 words, for us. There's a difference between saying, this worked really well for my locks, and everybody with locks needs to do this. And that is probably one of my biggest issues with lock advice online. I love sharing my experience. I'll tell you what I use. I'll show you my styles. I'll tell you what I've learned over almost 5 years. But I never want somebody watching me to think, if she does it, I have to do it. No. Take what helps you, leave what doesn't, and remember to learn your own hair. And if you're dealing with something that genuinely concerns you, thinning, breakage, scalp issues, whatever it may be, talk to a qualified professional instead of relying on random social media advice. So after almost 5 years of having locks, I definitely have some advice I live by. Keep your hair clean. Be mindful of what you're putting into your locks. Pay attention to tension. Learn your hair, have patience, and please stop expecting your locks to become an exact copy of somebody else. But as far as the imaginary rule book, telling me exactly how often I should retwist, that I can't style my locks, that frizz makes them look bad, or that everybody's lock journey needs to look the same, I'm good. My lock journey became way more enjoyable when I stopped wondering whether everybody else approved of what I was doing and started paying attention to what actually worked for me. And that's probably the biggest piece of lock advice I could give you. Your lock journey needs to work for you. Not me, not somebody in your comments, not the person whose locks you've saved on Pinterest, you. So that's the end of this video. If you found it helpful in any way, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.